So, the Tao Te Ching, verse 2. Under heaven, all can see beauty as beauty, only because there is ugliness. All can know good as good, only because there is evil. Being and non-being produce each other. The difficult is born in the easy. Long is defined by short, the high by the low. Before and after go along with each other. So the sage lives openly with apparent duality and paradoxical unity. The sage can act without effort and teach without words, nurturing things without possessing them. He works, but not for rewards. He competes, but not for results. When the work is done, it is forgotten. That is why it lasts forever. For me personally, in my own life, I have kind of struggled a little bit with this one. On the one hand, I am living a life of trying to be, a better person than I was the day before. And, trying to be a bigger person in a lot of situations, even though I do kind of slip up at times, I'm still human. With my life growing up as an entertainer is where I take issue, because I get what it's saying to me. Although for me personally, at the same time, I'm like, I'm proud of all that I've done as an entertainer. Starting out in my childhood, not only doing, a couple of plays throughout school and chorus and being in band and whatever, right? And then I've like color guard and all kinds of crap. But, I have grown up being raised in a bar, where like I got paid to, dance for people and do shows for people, and, I was always in some form or, like an entertainer for people. And then growing up, and moving away to the West Coast, I initially was going to go to school in Platt in San Diego, which I started going there, to ultimately end up, making adult films, which was kind of weird. Like I never actually, finished school or anything there. I did end up going to LA and then getting in front of the camera, and I started out with my pants down, not bad, and that was a trip. So like I gained a lot of fans through that, who are still there with me today. Not all of them, but there's a lot of them that have been following me since the very beginning, 11 years ago. And I love you. Thank you so much. I hope I will still look fabulous for you. Hope you don't mind I'm growing my hair back out. Instead of keeping it short like I had always had all these years. At the same time, though, it's like when it comes to this particular passage in the Tao Te Ching, and I have come to really love Lao Tzu, I love it. And I understand it does apply to all walks of life, including entertainers. And, at the same time, though, you'll see later on, with more verses as they come, why I would personally, still kind of maybe struggle with, that one or a couple others along the way when, later on verses, as an entertainer, because I feel a little guilt, you know? It's like, but I'm proud, I'm proud of all I've done, I've accomplished a lot, in the last 11 years alone, in entertainment, like I grew up in upstate New York, who would have thought like some dumb kid from, around here in central New York, and I only say it that way, not because I'm slamming myself, but when you think of growing up, figuratively speaking, a million miles away from Hollywood, who'd have thought that I would have gone out there and tripped and fell in Hollywood? It's like I fell into it. But all the things that I've done, a lot of people that have come to me over the years and had any sort of problem, which hardly ever happens along the way, but it does here and there. Um, I think the biggest problem for them is, like, for one, jealousy, and with misconceptions about what it's like financially, and it's not ultimately going down this road in Hollywood of the end result, like, it's the journey along the way for me that's the most rewarding to me. And financially, that'll end up happening later on, because I don't ever plan on retiring from entertainment, and while I'm here, I'm doing my own show, which I'll continue on as well, after I go back home in a few weeks. But, like, a passage like this, I find a little bit of struggle with personally because, I ultimately want to be a better person, not for anyone else's benefit or sake or anything, but my own, and not that I've ever been a bad person, because I haven't. I've done some bad things, yeah. But, my whole trip is that, like, I've gone through a lot in my life, and, I know that for the things that I've gone through, I need to continually maintain peace and balance within me, for otherwise turns into a problem, like health wise, internally, and everything like that. And, it's already manifested its way into, a tumor in my foot. But skateboarding after 35. Um, Dude, I want to go down a path of enlightenment. And you're not supposed to be all that proud of what you've done if you're an entertainer or anything else in life. But for me, as an entertainer, coming from a very small area, I'm proud of all of the, film, TV, and, theater even, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. I was Hercules, and then, like, I've been in a bunch of different movies. Some of the people I've grown up with have children now, which really trips me out, right? Because I don't have any. And, like, their kids, like, their favorite movies are movies that I've been in. And I'm like, that's sweet. Um, like, I'm proud of my accomplishments thus far. You're not supposed to Google yourself, and occasionally I will, just to see what's out there. And that's how I had, discovered that, there was a piece on Time magazine, and or yeah, on in Time magazine about me in Macedonia. Yeah. And it's like, an ongoing rating, and I've gotten really high the last time I checked, and like, being in the top 1%, of all actors and actresses of all time with IMDb. And I love, IMDb, and I love Time, and, I'm in them now, and, like, I didn't come from that sort of a background. I did grow up entertaining for people, but not professionally like this. And I'm thinking, why shouldn't I be proud of what I've done? I don't want to forget about it. Why would I want to forget something like that when it's been such a huge blessing for me? Is that wrong? Am I wrong? Am I reading this verse wrong and applying it to myself, and, ultimately having a struggle for no reason? Because I feel like there is some sense of a struggle with this particular passage with me, because, like, I'm not supposed to remember it. Why wouldn't you want to remember and be proud of the things that you've done? So if anyone else out there, studies Lasu and, the Tao Te Ching, and knows it a whole lot better than I do, please say something to me, and let me know as an entertainer growing up in a small town in upstate New York, and I find myself in Hollywood doing movies and, I grew up loving music, All y'all know that I'm a guitar player. I've got videos up and everything, and I can sing, but apparently not without getting crap on online for doing it. So maybe I should post my own music, and I'd rather just sing some of the people that I grew up with, listening to, like, because not because it's, easier on my memory, especially after having, the last few prescriptions wipe me out in a way, but as more like a tribute to them, whether I'm some kind of a platform in life or not, like, hey, let me sing your song, not to be rude or, anything, but show you how much I love you as a fan, like I just love that. I love all the bands that I listen to and have listened to my whole life, and I would rather not sing one of my own songs up online for all y'all to hear. I would rather sing somebody else's, like, examples. Okay, I like singing with Warrant and Skid Row and Queensryche, and Dream Theater and just a bunch of different bands, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and all the bands that I love. And Slaughter and Tesla and oh, I love me some Tesla. But I mean, going to Hollywood, speaking of Tesla, it's funner than pumping gas. You know what I mean? Yeah. Why wouldn't I want to be proud of that coming from what you would consider as nothing? So I don't want it to be forgotten. Am I wrong for that? I'm not sure. But one thing is for certain, like I've stated, I do want to continue on the path of, um, I don't want to say the path of enlightenment because, I mean, really, it's just so much more than that, you know? And I think while I'm a decent human being, I will ultimately evolve more and more and more as I get older in life by learning these sorts of things and, trying to educate myself along the way into a higher path and everything. Um, and maybe helping with other people too along their path. I do have some sense of a platform with, over a decade now, and it's, small, but it'll keep growing. And it's like I've said, it's not the payoff financially for me in the end, even though that would be great and I love it and I can't wait, yada yada yada, and what have yous. But it's the journey along the way for me, and the last part of that with having it forgotten just really strikes a chord with me. Go back and listen to this again, you'll see. You'll understand why this particular one, along with a few others in here, like I've said, I might have some issue with, for me personally. Now, if this particular passage, this verse 2, let alone verse 1, or all 81 together, or just individually, if they can help anyone, please let me know. Because I think Lasu is an amazing human being, and I would have never come across this sort of book had it not been for my own personal hero, which is Dr. Wayne Dyer. I love my Dr. Wayne Dyer, man. And I will do a separate video just for him and talking about my love for him. So I hope you've enjoyed this verse 2 of the Tao Te Ching. And for me personally, like I said, this particular one, I do have, some sense of a chord within me that, maybe I'm supposed to move on or something and forget about what I've done each day. And, like, if I do a movie, though, I'm proud of that. And I didn't come from this sort of a background, professionally. I didn't grow up in Hollywood, even though I'd been performing my whole life. I grew up in a small town here in upstate New York, and, you know, that's awesome, dude. I think if anybody's doing something in life that, especially, whether they're proud of or not, you know what I mean? But if they're proud of it, that's awesome. Don't feel ashamed for it and don't think you got to forget it. But I think if you're doing something like I am, where you should really be proud of what you're doing because you really didn't grow up in that sort of an environment, professionally. I wasn't born and raised in Hollywood in front of a camera. I didn't come to Hollywood and get into that until 11 years ago, and why would I want to forget all about that and move on like it's nothing? That's stuff I'll be proud of the rest of my life. And I should be proud of that because at least I'm doing something. And I'm no longer out there with, what people would tell me, don't go to LA because you'll end up, that very weekend when you go out, with a needle in your arm, dead in an alley. And that's not how it turned out for me. I'm proud of all I've done. I became Chad Everhart, and, that's who I am. I am no longer Eddie Octane. So, what do I do with this particular one, people? And is there a way that you can apply this particular passage within your own life? And if you can, and it helps you, or any of these verses help you, say something. Because the Tao Te Ching is one of the wisest books that's ever been written. And we're just now getting into verse 2, and you can spend a lifetime on each individual verse. And I know this is one of the wisest books ever written. It's always been said that it's one of the wisest books ever written. And it does apply to everyone in all walks of life. And I'm trying to apply this book more and more all the time for myself. And it's one that I would like to carry with me for the rest of my life. Like Eckhart Tolle is doing the same thing. He's carrying this book for like 20, 30 years now. I think that's fantastic. There's a few other ones, that I will carry with me, hopefully the rest of my life. Not just having Gray's Anatomy, which is the medical Bible kind of thing. I love me some Gray's Anatomy. But, like other books, which I'll get into, and I think you'll really enjoy them, like by, a Masonic brother, Ernest Holmes, in The Science of Mind, I think is extraordinary. You can carry that book around and learn from it as your own personal Bible, like the Tao Te Ching from Lao Tzu. You can carry that one around, and study it every single day for the rest of your life. I also want to do that with copies of the Vedas, and, like I've said, I'll get into doing some Sanskrit with you, and we can learn together. And, instead of having it turn out, hopefully, as just a dead language, maybe with my platform, and if it keeps growing along the way, maybe I can help one or two more people, learn how to read Sanskrit along with me. And with that, with us together, we can help each other. And maybe along the way, if I can get enough people to learn Sanskrit, maybe it wouldn't be a dead language anymore, But I think what I would like to do with that alone is I really, really, really feel something within me that I want to translate some of the or I was going to say the Tao Te Ching again, my bad. I want to translate some of the ancient Sanskrit texts and Tamil, however you want to say it, but I really want to get into, the Vedas, and not just, the Vedas, but a ton of Masonic books. I want to read to you another book like I did with George Washington's Rules of Civility. I want to read to you a book that my coach gave me when I became a Master Mason. Now, I have posted my essay for the first degree, and if I can find the other ones that I've got somewhere along the way, I'll read those to you as well. Um, but I do want to read a book that my coach had given me. And I think as, a Mason and this show being, centered around Masonry, not just the quantum mechanics of Enlightenment and Freemasonry, but Freemasonry is a very big part of this show. Because I'm a Freemason and I am also trying to show a lot of people that, hey, look, I've got a little bit of a platform, and not to boast about that, but I mean, in this sense, I'm saying, if I can get out there to a little more people the reality of what Freemasonry is and help dispel maybe one or two people from thinking, it's evil or we're Satanists or Luciferian or something, you know what I mean? Like, give me a break, dude. You want to know what it's about? And all these people want to, have something to say negative wise because they saw something online, well, why don't we learn all about it? Here you go. Let me show you a whole lot of stuff that I'm allowed to show you and really educate you so that you can get a better understanding of what Freemasonry is. And maybe along the way, being that I do have some celebrity status, that I can get one or two, maybe even three or four, people to stop slamming Freemasonry. Because I'm a proud Freemason and I'll spend the rest of my life talking about it. Like if my celebrity status keeps growing the way that it will throughout my life, because I'm not going to retire in this, I'm not going to, but if I can get my platform to help in any sort of way reach one or two more people and have them understand Freemasonry is a gift, God bless Freemasonry, and, oh yeah. I love Freemasonry, man. And if you can help me get a hold of more materials that I may or may not have ever heard before, like, oh, I never heard of this, and you hand me a book that you think is wise, run it up, thank you. I will be grateful. And if I don't end up doing my own series like I'm doing with the Tao Te Ching with this, right off the bat, I'd like to at some point, you know what I mean? If it fits into my show, I'd like to do it. Like I said all throughout, I want to end up having this is probably one of the longest running series, period, when you count how many videos I'll do. The the Tao Te Ching, man. This is a book that's really, really become a big part of me. And I want to do a lot of good for Freemasonry and for Lao Tzu, and when it comes to other materials that I want to read along the way, I do want to show you and read to you or just do video series on whatever, I don't know quite yet, but also covering some material that might not be suitable for viewers strictly doing nothing but positive path. So, giving an example, I'll do a dictionary of black magic. I don't mind. You want to know all about the Necronomicon and the spell books and everything? I'll do it for you. I don't mind. Because where there's good, there's bad. And if I'm educating you into enlightenment along with running down this path the rest of my life myself, you know what I mean? Like, I have, since my accident, read a lot of things, good and bad. I didn't just stick with the Bible. Like I'm covering all kinds of materials with enlightened minds, kind of thing. For all of these 25 or whatever years, and I grew up before that, doing the Bible, but I think a lot of people really need to hear the Tao Te Ching. And being I have a little bit of platform in my life that I've created, you know, on the D list, you know what I mean? But being on the D list, maybe I can get a few more people to hear the Tao Te Ching that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise, like if I can get three or four people that have never heard of the Tao Te Ching to hear the Tao Te Ching, I'm grateful, and that would be more than a blessing for me. You know what I mean? This particular passage is very much so with me. It's not about, the payoff. It's my journey along the way. And for me as an entertainer, you know, I'm having to come to terms with a lot of what's written in this book. And, it does strike some sense of like, ooh, which is a negative. How do I apply that to myself? And what do you mean? I don't want to forget, and I shouldn't have to at the end of my workday if I've just done a film, you know what I mean? Like if I've been in a movie, like my being David Bowie in a film, for an example, I got to work with Guinevere Turner, who is in, American Psycho, and I love Guinevere Turner, you know what I mean? And I didn't grow up the biggest David Bowie fan, as compared to other people, but, you can't deny who that is when it's somebody that grew up in a bar surrounded by music. So I'm proud, and maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm wrong for being proud, and maybe, I am supposed to, like, look at it like, forget about what you've done. But it's not really bragging, and I don't want anyone to think that it would ever be bragging if they, hear once or twice, oh, I've done this, I've done that. I'm just proud of it. Why would I want to forget, you know? This book has helped me a lot. The Tao Te Ching is really important. And like I've said, it's one that I do want to carry with me the rest of my life. Now, what I have from the Tao Te Ching is Wayne Dyer's version. And I wished I had been able to have this one signed too. I do have, I'm getting vulture bumps, and like, I love Wayne Dyer. I have his copy of I Can See Clearly now that he signed in purple. So that means a lot to me. Rest in peace, Wayne Dyer. Want to see a picture of my little man? Let me see if he'll come into focus for you. Yeah. This is my copy. Living the Wisdom of the Tao. I would urge all of you to get a copy of this book, even if it's just a coffee table read until you end up really reading it. Now, it can be read in a day. It can be studied in a lifetime. It's not just something that he said, or a few others like Eckhart Tolle, um, it really is something that each verse alone you could spend a lifetime studying. So, with all of you out there that do know the Tao, like if you really, really know and you've studied the Tao, for a long time, that kind of a deal, or maybe you've gone to school for the Tao or something, right? You know, help me. And if there's anyone that wants to listen to this over again, um, and you have a different take for me in my own personal life as an entertainer, um, share me your opinion. I love you. Namaste.